approximately 4.6 billion years ago, the universe produced life. Long after that, roughly 60 million years ago, according to textbooks, dinosaurs followed. And the counter hypothesis is that God created the heavens and the earth, that he did it 6,000 years ago approximately, and that he did it in 6 literal days. You see, one of two things has to be true. Either you evolved over time from an ape and have no purpose, or God created you in his image, and that the Bible is completely true and accurate from beginning to end.
All right, your question, where did God come from, assumes that you're thinking of the wrong, obviously it displays that you're thinking of the wrong God, because the God of the Bible is not affected by time, space, or matter. If he's affected by time, space, or matter, he's not
Every
God.
generation, a handful of people are selected to become household names. One of these household names, when I was a child, that went around the kitchen table, was Dr. Kent Hovind, or Dr. Dino, the famous creationist, the vindicator for Young Earth Creationists.
It needs to see it. So for the next, I forget how long, everybody was watching today, they had over 20 former drug dealers saved in the prison watching the video series.
Dealing for Jesus now,
Amen. Had some great results. So several people donate to our ministry to help us be able to do that, to give out videotapes to prisons. And if you can get involved, either send us chaplains' names, or have the chaplain send us a letter, or send us some money so we can donate it to prison. We'll be glad to do that. We want to get the gospel out. I figure I'll be there someday anyway, so might as well. Anyway, so
Not only was Dr. Hovind debating in every major university that would allow him, but he was also being honored as a guest speaker in every church that had a congregation big enough to hold a pastor. It was like nothing you'd ever seen. It happened so quickly, it really would make the head spin. Up until the early 2000s, Kent Hovind was unstoppable. What happened to Kent Hovind?
You work for the Internal Revenue Service. I'd like to start a little background on this, let the viewers know a little bit about you and about why you want to debate Kent Hovind.
Okay, I'm about 10 years out from my IRS service, having retired in 2005.
You've probably seen a number of things with religions going on, so we're going to get into that a little bit later. But walking away from the IRS, why do you think you're in a good position to debate Kent over his tax abuse that he was involved in? What is it that was convicted of, and what is he protesting that you want to tackle?
Well, Kent and I are about the same age, so we grew up together and went different paths in different parts of the country. He claims to be a theist, I claim to be a theist.
Should we go on the offense? Should we file a criminal complaint against the IRS and file a ticket complaint and start the whole thing over again?
Well, come along and find out. By the end of this documentary, we will have totally unmasked Dr. Kent Hovind. So let's go.
Mark Stoney and I were about to get on a plane. Like, there's so much stuff people don't realize. Like, it's so complicated. Like,
what were you about to get on the plane for?
To kill motherfuckers.
Great. What do we got there, Joseph?
I really don't think we have to go all the way back to East Peoria Community High School, or even as far back as Patriot Bible University, to completely grasp who Kent Hovind is and what makes Kent Hovind who he is. Actually, I think we can accomplish the same goal just by going back to the year 1990 with his first letter to the editor. It's this letter to the editor that would end up propelling Kent Hovind into his future career as the Young Earth Vindicator. It was this letter to the editor that started Kent Hovind down the road of his destiny.
Okay, what are we doing here?
Alright, so we are recording, and you can start by telling us your name and how long you've been in ministry.
There was an article in the newspaper that came out that said dinosaur bones found in Montana from 80 million years ago. And I wrote my first ever letter to the editor. I said I was brand new in town, Pensacola, didn't know, so I said, look, these bones they found are from one that drowned in the flood. The world is not millions of years old. Dinosaurs always lived with man. They call them dragons or some other name. And these bones are just something that's left over from the flood of Noah. And I said, reptiles never stop growing. And before the flood, when people lived to be 900, the reptiles would get to be 70 feet long. That's the dinosaurs. They did not live millions of years ago. They published my letter in the paper and started a war in Pensacola. I didn't realize I was starting to fight, Some atheists started writing in, and evolutionists were writing back and forth, and I was writing in. And I was just working construction, putting the wife through college and kids through school. And finally, some students from the University of West Florida called me, and they said, will you come debate one of our professors? We're reading all your letters to the editor in our anthropology class. Would you come have a debate? I said, I've never done a debate in my life, except with my wife, and I lose those every time. But
still does.
Sure. So we did my first ever debate. I'm going to guess it was about March.
It's good to be here. My name is Kent Hovind. I live here in Pensacola. Moved here 5 years ago. I have 3 teenagers. They go to Pensacola Christian High School. I was a science teacher 15 years and now travel around and speak full-time on this subject, creation, evolution, and dinosaurs. That's my full-time ministry. I speak over 700 times a year.
We're sitting here in Charlotte, North Carolina to have a radio debate with Dr. Eugenie Scott from California. Going to start in just a few moments. Supposed to go who knows how long. I'm speaking Denver Baptist Church tonight, tomorrow night. Thought we'd just videotape this.
Kent Hovind was winning every single debate he participated in. I mean, there was a point where you could not talk about creationism or apologetics without bringing up the name Kent Hovind. It was around this time era that Kent Hovind did something so daring, so gutsy, that few saw it coming. Kent Hovind debated 3 university professors at once. And won.
I'll start. My name is Jim Strayer. I'm from Michigan. I started my educational career in a small Methodist school. I went there for 2 years and then transferred to Eastern Michigan University to get a major in biology and a minor in chemistry.
I'm Reinhold Sleeper. I teach here, and that means I live around this area too. And there's no way I'm going to be able to top that introduction that we just heard. So I'll just be staying on the side of modesty and stop right here.
My name is Luther Reisbig. I'm a professor of aerospace engineering. I graduated from Michigan State University, where I got my PhD in engineering there. I'm probably the least qualified person to be here talking about any of these matters, but I'll apologize.
We have an additional 5 minutes to rebuttal Dr. Hovind's opening statement and to pose a question to him.
I am curious about your presentation, which was, I am impressed. The only one who I've heard speak that quickly was a Texas auctioneer, but I tried really hard to concentrate and get it all. The earth was created 6,000 years ago in 6 days by God. I am confused. Being philosophically consistent and being a very honest person, I'm sure you can tell me where God came from. And in addition...
So, 2 questions. All right.
Go ahead.
All right, your question, where did God come from, assumes that you're thinking of the wrong, obviously it displays that you're thinking of the wrong God, because the God of the Bible is not affected by time, space, or matter. If he's affected by time, space, or matter, he's not God. Time, space, and matter is what we call a continuum. All of them have to come into existence at the same instant, because if there were matter but no space, where would you put it? If there were matter and space but no time, when would you put it? You cannot have time, space, or matter independently. They have to come into existence simultaneously. The Bible answers that in 10 words. In the beginning, there's time. God created the heaven, there's space, and the earth, there's matter. So you have time, space, matter, created a trinity of trinities there. Just, time is past, present, future. Space has length, width, height. Matter has solid, liquid, gas. You have a trinity of trinities created instantaneously, and the God who created them has to be outside of them. If he's limited by time, he's not God. The guy who created this computer is not in the computer. He's not running around in there changing the numbers on the screen, okay? The God who created this universe is outside of the universe. He's above it, beyond it, in it, through it. He's unaffected by it. So the concept that a spiritual force cannot have any effect on a material body, well then I guess you'd have to explain to me things like emotions and love and hatred and envy and jealousy and rationality. I mean, if your brain is just a random collection of chemicals that form by chance over billions of years, how on earth can you trust your own reasoning processes and the thoughts that you think? Okay?
And as could be expected, some of Kent's opponents would lash out during debates, be angry or bitter afterwards, with the realization that their worldview that they had assumed over all this time was a scientific principle was in fact just a theory with multiple built-in assumptions that were completely unfounded and unprovable.
Before I turn to genetics, I want to make a few comments on what we've just heard here and the level of honesty of the person making these comments. Because this is someone who feels free to call other people liars and to use the word lie about a whole set of people and a whole set of activities. Yet he's has some vulnerability on exactly that subject. Let's just deal with trivia first of all. Symbiosis requires simultaneous creation. That's nonsense. We have many numerous studies of symbioses beginning and in some cases symbioses breaking down, and you don't have to imagine simultaneously everything's in place in order to get it to evolve. That's an elementary error that's been around in some forms for over 100 years. He claims that evolutionary theory is not science, but is religion, because science, he says, is derived from observation and study, and since you can't actually observe a fossil change into a different...
Other opponents, on the other hand, had completely opposite reactions, almost breaking down in tears and apologizing for years of bullying students into a theory that was unprovable because it was a professor's preference. It was mind-blowing, like nothing you had ever seen before.
Thank you all for coming out. I have an announcement to make at the beginning, and Paul, I sort of apologize for not telling you this sooner, but it has to be said. Well, I was doing preparation for this debate and looking up various things and trying to come up with various arguments and counter-arguments for the points that I knew or that I thought that Dr. Hovind here would raise. And I started thinking about all of the arguments that he'd made in the previous debate, all of the things that he'd said, all of the points that he'd brought up that I just found myself incapable of refuting. And I did a good deal of background digging into the claims and the statements and the facts that Dr. Hovind presented. Thanks in part to his very excellent website, www.drdino.com, which I can highly recommend. And I started to think about the way I'd taught evolution in the past, about all of the students of mine, some of whom are here tonight, whom I'd bullied and brainwashed and intimidated and generally tried to make feel bad because I couldn't get them to convert to my own particular mode of thinking. And I thought about the way that, the senseless waste of taxpayer money for me to go in and act like an indoctrinator rather than an educator, and the way I've always insisted that my students accept this because it seems so right to me. Well, this is not particularly easy for me to say. It's not always easy to talk with your foot this firmly planted in one's mouth, but I want to make a public promise right now. I really don't want to make this a typical adversarial, name-calling, angry, mocking debate the way I sort of remember the last one.
All right, thank you, sir. Well, I stick by my guns. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can in a moment, but the evidence that is used to support the evolution theory is indeed lies and has been proven wrong. For example, your textbook will tell...
Not only did Kent Hovind solidly secure his position as the premier vindicator for Young Earth Creationism, but Kent Hovind was beginning to gain some celebrity status that was really cool to watch.
A telly. I ain't shitting you. He don't have a telly.
Yeah. He lives in a house, though.
Yo.
And that house is a product of technology.
No, he ain't got no technology in it. You can check out his website. He ain't got nothing in it.
It's got a website.
The
He
house
wears clothes,
itself.
shoes.
What?
He eats food. These are still having babies. Why don't they have another human today?
Okay. Has you ever eaten a banana?
Oh, yeah, I eat all kinds of food, yeah. I eat a banana, and that's proof we came from a rock. That's not proof of evolution. When this changes, he's going to look silly. 1905, the official age of the Earth, I've got the textbooks, was 2 billion years. Today it's 4.6.
That's still a lot older than what you're prepared to concede.
From 2 billion to 4.6 billion is a gigantic jump.
Hold it.
The fact is they don't know.
What do you think about all that?
Well, first of all, how do we even know there is something rather than nothing? Are you convinced that we're here? Or are we here?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. How do you know that?
Because I could hear myself talking.
Okay, we have to observe by our senses, sight, taste, touch, etc. We have 5 senses, 5 ways to contact the world, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it. Maybe there are more. Maybe there are 20 senses, and we've only got 5 of them. Blind people certainly are missing one. Deaf people are missing one.
He was on TV everywhere.
Just with the 5 senses we have, we can say, okay, it appears that we're here. It appears that we're real. But why is there something rather than nothing? I think you said, where did God come from? That question assumes a couple of things. It assumes that God is locked in time, space, matter like we are.
One thing was for certain in the late 90s and early 2000s. If you wanted an expert on Young Earth Creationism, you invited Dr. Kent Hovind onto your show. Period.
Hi, I'm Pete Riley. I'm here with Dr. Kent Hovind, and as I told Dr. Hovind, I'm a CPA, and I've written quite a bit about his case on Forbes.com. Most recently on Monday, I gave my readers links to several of the interviews you've been doing. You're with following Gideon's example, getting your supporters to create noise and light. Is that what's the your strategy at the moment?
Well, there's very little hope of anybody winning in the federal courts. I mean, if you look at the records, they have like a 99% success rate. So, but as far as in the Bible, which is what I believe cover to cover, there were many times when people faced enemies that were just unbeatable, David and Goliath kind of stuff. So yeah, you can just simply expose the truth. That's all I can do. So I've asked folks to just shine the light on what happened. I think there was a lot of injustice and probably even illegal activity in my case from the other side. And I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to fear from the truth. And Gideon in the Bible just said all he had was light and noise. In Judges chapter 7, and they shined the light, made a lot of noise, and the enemy fought each other. So yes, I want people to shine the light. I would love a full investigation of this case from start to finish.
Kent Hovind was being interviewed left and right. He was establishing a name and prestige for himself very rapidly.
I mean, you were really not against them teaching evolution in schools. It's just you said you can't do it by teaching lies, and you expose the lies. Is that not your crime?
Correct.
Against them?
When I did the debates against atheists, like I said, I have over 100 of them. The first thing you do is define the terms. What exactly are we talking about? What do you mean by evolution? We'll talk more about that tomorrow, because to me, that is essential that people understand. Because when I say that word, I'm thinking of something, but when they say that word, they're thinking of something totally different.
Even after this remarkable popularity, Dr. Hovind was still not done.
On creation
well,
versus
that's very practical because of the number of people that are embroiled in these debates from high school into college. I mean, even in grade school.
Rather, in fact, Kent was just getting started. He had decided that he was gonna now jump into the King James only controversy, brushing shoulders with heavy King James only hitters like Gail Riplinger. And Kent Hovind would be faithful to that position even to this day.
And how deviant it is from true Christianity. And so
Yeah, this is, how many pages?
1,200.
1,200 pages and sells for how much?
That's $35.95.
$35.95. Fabulous. I didn't get through it yet, but I started, and I'm enjoying it. I've been pretty busy. I've been out of prison 120 days. Okay, I'm working on it. Anyway, so what I've read I love, so that's fabulous. I encourage people to get that one. Okay?
Thank you. And then for those who can't read that 1,200-page book, we've also written a brochure, and I think it's 50 cents or something like that, and it summarizes what's wrong with the vines. Why is it wrong to say the Greek says? You know, Mr. Vine, where did he get his words from? Or Strong's Concordance, where did he get his definitions from? And you'll find out in that book and in this brochure, highly corrupt sources, highly corrupt lexicography.
I heard somebody preaching just a few weeks ago. He said something that just struck me. He said, wow, this is perfect. Paul said in 2 Corinthians, they were corrupting the Word of God while he was writing it. So if somebody says this version is, you know, you could have a Hebrew or a Greek version that is 2 days from the original and still be corrupted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the fact that it's older has nothing to do with it being better. They were corrupting it while Paul was writing it. They wrote letters in his name.
Right. We're not as many which corrupt the Word of God.
So the argument that these guys have is, well, this is older, therefore it's better. That's flawed on its face. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, other stuff you got.
Okay. Then after the...
Why to use the King James Version of the Bible? Why not other versions? Well, I've been a Christian since 1969. I was raised all kinds of different churches, and after I got saved, my parents started giving me...
Kent was smart enough to capitalize off his newly found success by hosting large events like
right
his
here in
New
Pensacola, Florida.
Creationist
Let's give
boot
him a
camp.
hand.
All right.
Good to
Thank
see
you,
you.
son.
Thank you.
Amen. Okay, let's see. Did I get it on here? Y'all been sitting a long time. Everybody stand up, turn around twice, and sit down. Go, go, go. Let's go. This is boot camp. If you got to go potty, that is tough. Okay? We're glad you're here today. All right. This is our first boot camp. My son, Eric, I think has done an amazing job of organizing things. I've been traveling a lot. Thank you, son. They asked me to speak tonight on why evolution is stupid. I can't think of an easier topic on the planet to speak on. Now, keep in mind, one of the goals of our boot camp is to train people to be better soldiers. You may already believe in creation, that's great, but you've got neighbors who don't. In June, nothing going on yet. Boot camp in 4th of July weekend, creation boot camp.
At this point in time, Kent Hovind had two things very much going in his favor. Clips from the Where Did God Come From debate.
Time, space, and matter is what we call a continuum. All of them have to come into existence at the same instant. Because if there were matter but no space, where would you put it? If there were matter and space but no time, when would you put it? You cannot have time, space, or matter independently. They have to come into existence simultaneously. The Bible answers that in 10 words. In the beginning, there's time. God created the heaven, there's space, and the earth, there's matter. So you have time, space, matter created, a trinity of trinities there. Just, time is past, present, future. Space has length, width, height. Matter has solid, liquid, gas. You have a trinity of trinities created instantaneously, and the God who created them has to be outside of them. If he's limited by time, he's not God. The guy who created this computer is not in the computer. He's not running around in there changing the numbers on the screen, okay? The God who created this universe is outside of the universe. He's above it, beyond it, in it, through it. He's unaffected by it. So the concept that a spiritual force cannot have any effect on a material body, well then I guess you'd have to explain to me things like emotions and love and hatred and envy and jealousy and rationality. I mean, if your brain is just a random collection of chemicals that form by chance over billions of years, how on earth can you trust your own reasoning processes and the thoughts that you think?
And on America's Funniest Home Videos, they were playing clips of him doing the ceremony for his daughter's wedding.
In the presence of God and these witnesses, you pledged your love for each other. Hello? Yes, Lord? No, I wasn't calling you, but okay. The Lord says he would like you to know that what he has joined together, let no man put asunder. Paul, you may kiss your bride, he says.
I don't think it would be fair or realistic to say that Kent Hovind did not earn his way into being a household name. See, whether you love Kent Hovind or you hate Kent Hovind, he lives rent-free in your head. Now at this point, Kent Hovind had already solidified himself as the reigning, uncontested YEC champion. But one more thing would help project Kent Hovind into success, and that was his ability to market.
Hello, welcome to Creation Science Evangelism Magic Tricks video. My name is Dr. Kent Hovind. I was a high school science teacher for 15 years, and now for the last 10 years I've been an evangelist, and I travel and speak on creation and evolution. But for 17 years, as a brand new Christian, I was a...
Dr. Hovind would now begin creating, producing, and marketing all of his intellectual property. None would ever become quite as famous as his creation seminar series.
Well, thank you for getting our CDs. I'm assuming you're getting this videotape because you purchased our CDs on PowerPoint.
But that doesn't mean they weren't all just as important to the YEC movement.
I think this knows nothing, because that's where I was just a few years ago. And many people who explained things to me about computers started way over my head. So we're going to start from ground zero. Once you get a scanner like this right here, these cost about $300. This hooks into the back of my computer, and there's several different types of scanners and several different ways they hook in. So you probably have to read the instructions that come with your scanner for where it plugs into your computer. And then you install a program. In this case, it's called Corel Photo Paint 8 is what I'm using here.
The Creation Seminar series is what would captivate most audiences to Dr. Hovind's material. It was so popular that homeschooling communities around the Southeast United States were using Kent Hovind lecture materials as homeschooling curriculum. He was blowing up beyond any creationist celebrity status that any of us had ever known before.
Have not done a good job of answering the skeptics. And we've allowed them to take over our school system and our legal process, and our whole thinking process is now based on this theory called evolution.
We actually had a celebrity in the Young Earth movement now, and it was Kent Hovind.
2, if you're not saved, I'm going to try to get you converted tonight. Okay? I told you right up front, I'm after you. Right? Number 3, if you're saved and you're not doing much for the Lord, then I'm going to try to make you uncomfortable.
Kent Hovind is polarizing. If you love Kent Hovind, you cannot help but support him vocally. If you hate Kent Hovind, you cannot help but bash him publicly. But one way or the other, you have an opinion on Kent Hovind.
Been there for 15 years. I have 3 kids, 1 of each. My kids are 24, 25, and 26, a year and 2 weeks apart. It's called family planning where I come from. And let's see, my daughter Marlissa is here tonight. Where'd she go? Marlissa? She's out there somewhere. They got the stuff at the airport. I saw them here. And anyway, I got them all married off, brother, and the dog died, so I made it. I'm home free. It's wonderful. And all 6 of them work for me in my ministry, and now I've got 2 grandkids, and hopefully 1,000 more coming. Grandkids are God's reward for not killing your own kids when you thought about it. We, at our ministry, produce a lot of videotapes. We've made over 1 million videos now in 6 languages. They're not copyrighted. We encourage you to get our stuff and spread it around.
Rapid celebrity status like this is enough to break any man. But it didn't break Kent Hovind. Strangely, the only thing that came faster than the rise of Kent Hovind was the fall of Kent Hovind.
Yes. He's got a badge and a gun and he thinks he's God. He needs to get, sent him all kinds of letters telling him, Scott, here's what the law says your position is, He doesn't care.
Mark Stoney and I were about to get on a plane. Like, there's so much stuff people don't realize. Like, it's so complicated. Like,
what were you about to get on the plane for?
To kill motherfuckers.
What do we got there, Joseph? Turn down for what?
Yeah. Well, when I ask everybody what your better attribute is, it's all over the board. It's your generosity, your kindness, your long-suffering. What do you think your best attribute is? Like, which attribute are you the proudest of?
Oh, my humility. Yeah, I wrote my book, The World's 3 Most Humble People and How I Trained the Other 2. Should be out soon.
Okay.
I don't know. I am very concerned that God's going to say He gave me a lot, and I'm trying to use it for Him, but I know I could do more. I really could.
That's a drive. That is a good attribute to have.
Yeah. There's a war going on. I want to win.
If you had to guess, how many people do you think you've helped bring to the Lord?
We get letters, phone calls, emails. It's millions? I don't know. Hope so. Plus the ripple effect. You know, I lead somebody to the Lord and they go off and lead 50 more to the Lord. And so, but I know it could have been more. But still, I think there's been quite a few.
Has there ever been one that you weren't able to reach that maybe still weighs on you?
Oh, many. I've tried and tried. I've debated now 349 debates I've done. Some with the same person a couple times, but I think I'm reaching a lot of their audience. I'm not reaching them, but I think it reaches a lot of their audience. People stop and say, whoa, this is really dumb to believe we all came from a rock. It is really dumb.
It is.
But okay. Mama would get mad if we said the word stupid, but she's in heaven now, so it's stupid. Evolution has got to be the dumbest religion ever invented.
And I can attest that even though he debates these people, he prays for them. So he has prayed for the people that he has debated. And he has a love for their soul. He just hates what they're doing to the public school system and teaching falsehood. But he prays for all the ones that he's debated for, sometimes even by name. So.
Well, you're making ground. You even have ones like Jackson came to visit.
Yeah.
So they're coming. They're interested.
Mm-hmm. Well, they better be. They're going to die one day. They're going to face God, whether they like it or not, whether they believe it or not. You know. So, my job is just like Jesus told his disciples: go into all the world, preach the gospel to every creature. I'm trying to do that.
Your focus, the ministry's main focus, is creation. You rarely ever do debates outside of that. Do you think that's the field you need to stay in? Just doing creation debates?
I think this is the center of the battlefield. Because that really goes down to the very beginning of the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. If God created the world, then he owns it. He gets to make the rules. He gets to be the judge one day. So I think just about everything else in humanity centers around that topic. Who made this world? Why are we here? You know. So yeah, I don't see a bigger battle to get into. This is it. All the other stuff is superfluous, you know.